Yeah, I would take both.
My thing with Vic Beasley is, where do you play him? Because the Falcons never really figured out whether they wanted him to be an outside linebacker or an edge rusher, and he rotated between both his entire time there. And with Gerald McCoy, look, we mentioned this earlier with teams drafting defensive tackles high. He was drafted in the same mindset of being the next Aaron Donald, but he doesn't generate a lot of sack numbers from his position.
Yeah, it's interesting to see two players there whose careers have followed each other in Ndamukong Suh and Gerald McCoy, both on this list.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Maybe Ndamukong Suh can go back and get his old position again. Gerald McCoy can go someplace else.
Just apropos my earlier prediction for the Super Bowl, Nick, you can be happy that Ndamukong Suh isn't playing in this game for the 49ers, because that would he would certainly fulfill my Mahomes prediction.
Prison shank scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
He's my man for that.
Trey Boston, once again, a free agent. I don't understand how he always ends up on the free agency list.
What number are you on now?
He's at 85.
85.
We done 85 already.
Listen, a lot of these, I could literally go through 100 names, sure. But what would the point of that be? I like Trey Boston. I think he is an underrated safety that ends up being a journeyman for no apparent reason.
Okay, is this because he's called Boston?
Yeah.
It has to do with the fact that he's called Boston.
Hold up. Let me really make Neil sick and ask Jay about number 93, Danny Amendola. Do you welcome him back? Because
no,
you guys need help.
No. And Evan Silva's write-up is perfect. Brittle 12-year slot receiver has never reached 700 yards, turned 34 in November. That's all you need to say about Danny Amendola.
He's a good-looking man.
Sounds like a perfect Patriot.
What does that mean?
No. Does not sound like a good Patriot. Nick Kwiatkowski sounds like a much better Patriot. I wouldn't mind having him as an inside linebacker for New England.
Mm-hmm. I do remember there was like some game that the Patriots played in where every single person who scored a point for the Patriots was a Kowski. It was Gostkowski, Gronkowski, and there was like a couple other Kowskis in there. So yeah, you need another one.
Yeah. The fact that he was a Chicago Bear, I mean, it's also pretty perfect for him. Anyway, I thought Evan Silva wrote up a very fair write-up of each of these free agents, even if he ranked them kind of strangely, because putting a guy like Danny Amendola right next to Nick Kwiatkowski, I would say the value is not equal.
But is it just me, or do you guys also think there's quite a deep sort of group of quality players there?
Yeah, there's some quality players on this list, but I mean, as some of his notes indicate, a lot of these guys are on the wrong side of 30. And, the way they played in the last couple of years, plus, has not been great and has not been serviceable. I mean, at the very least, when you go to a team, you at least want to be serviceable to the point to where it's like this team didn't make a colossal mistake and be like, okay, he's made some plays, he's missed some plays, but not to the point where it's like, oh my gosh, why did we sign this guy? And too many of these players on this list, while they're quality signees, probably shouldn't be starters, more so rotational players, because the last 2 to 3 years they have been playing on the wrong side of 30. They've not played well.
Well, that's what I was just about to observe, is that I think it's a good free agency list for veteran teams that think they're contending. Guys like Terrell Suggs, who the Chiefs added late in the season, he's been a contributor and he's been cheap, and I think the Chiefs are finally now a team kind of like the Patriots have been for the last 20 years where, those kind of veterans will sign a 1-year deal for probably a little bit less money they'd get somewhere else because, hey, I'll get a chance at the ring. And for the Chiefs, like, sure, 1-year deal, here's a few million and some incentives. And I think we'll see a lot of those guys migrate to some of the contending teams this year.
I'd like to point out another Patriots reference not made by me.
Correct. It's a disease that's spreading.
Garnecchia is still retired.
Coronavirus.
I will tell you, to make a Patriots reference, it is a very interesting offseason for New England because, as I said, going into the final week, that this was the time to hit the reset button. I don't know if they're actually going to, but there's a ton of turnover on the coaching staff. There are a lot of key free agents that are, as James noted, on the other side of 30. This is a perfect time for New England to literally just tear it down and start over at zero. I don't know if they're going to do that, but it probably makes the most sense to do that now. Just rip that Band-Aid off and let us hurt now as fans. Let us go through a Washington Redskins kind of season.
I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but you call it a Band-Aid. It's more like some sort of plaster cast with massive heaps of gauze and tape and blood and ooze coming out of it. No? Also smells a bit sort of like septic.
And again, as I said when we weren't recording, when Jarrett Stidham is the greatest quarterback of all time, you guys will all come crying to me again. That's not going to happen. Yeah,
who is going to be the new offensive line coach? Is Scarnecchia's son or something?
It's a great question. It's a great question, Neil. I have no idea who will be the next offensive line coach because I don't think there's a guy on the team that's currently qualified for that position. Mm-hmm. And
sure, Belichick's got another son somewhere he can drag in there.
I would say that the previous cycle when Flores left and took a couple of coaches with him to build his staff in Miami, Bill didn't necessarily bring in a bunch of new coaches as much as he brought in former players. We saw Gerard Mayo, we saw Troy Brown, Kevin Falk and Deion Branch also had a little bit of time, especially in the preseason, on the coaching staff. Obviously, none of those guys are linemen. Matt Light does spend a lot of time still in Boston. So Matt Light could be a guy that he reaches out to and brings him onto the coaching staff. I don't know if that's something Matt Light has interest in doing. I think he's pretty happy being part of the Boston media at this particular point in time.
Haven't you got that pastor guy, that reverend chap?
No.
No, he's in Houston.
That reverend is in Houston, and why they filed tampering charges about Caserio. Yeah.
You should get him back in because your prayers are going to be helpful to you this year.
Like I said, I, as a Patriot fan, am fully prepared and ready for a Washington Redskins type season in 2020. I just don't
think you can get Belichick on board for like a full teardown. I just think Belichick's he just believes he can contend every year, and and even if you're trying to sell it to him, like, okay, we can just sell off pieces and just start from fresh, he's just going to be like, I'm going to get the Super Bowl this year, Phil. Or,
that's right. Go away. He's going to be saying we're as bad as Cincinnati.
Right. Maybe.
Oh, man.
I just don't see they don't have the cap space and they don't have the talent on the team currently to do that, to make a run for the Super Bowl, even if they were to re-sign Brady. I don't see it.
If I could give them one piece of advice, I would say if you're not
Patriots today, what are the league news is there?
That's it. We're at the end of the show, James. I know you really want more talk, more football talk, but we've reached the end.
More.
We've reached the end. I know you wanted to talk about preseason predictions. We can save that for
we can save
for
that.
Another show.
Predictions. Is this for
a lot
of
slow weeks ahead.
We're talking about the XFL.
Speaking of the XFL, I will be attending the New York Guardians season kickoff. I will be there in attendance, sitting in one of the end zones, watching the watching the Guardians versus the Vipers. If you're going to go to an XFL game, you might as well go to the first one, because after that, it's all downhill from there. Actually, I got a really good deal on these tickets, which was
the one that lost the bet. James got 2 tickets.
Really, it's my son and a member of his football team that wanted to go, and I have to be the Guardian. I'm going to the Guardians. Guardians versus the Vipers.
Which cities are they, though?
New York. And New York, Vipers, I think, are Seattle.
Seattle?
Nope. The Vipers are Tampa Bay, as it was yelled in from the other room.
So it's New York against Tampa Bay?
Yep.
Which week's that, then? I'm looking at the...
Week 1.
Swing by my place for some
there you go. Tampa Bay.
Okay, that would be great. couldn't want something more than some of Nick's hummus.
Well, there'll be more people in Nick's house than there will be at that game.
I don't think so. Quite honestly, there weren't a lot of tickets left.
Oh gosh!
They're only selling lower bowl too. The Meadowlands is only selling the lower bowl. You can't buy seats in the upper bowl at the Meadowlands.
Yeah, because it's not available.
Exactly.
They definitely want as many seats filled as possible to make it look like a capacity crowd, or at least,
right.
Some feigning interest. So,
right. Well, and that's how Vince McMahon will get away with calling it a sellout.
Yeah.
Right. That's all that was allowed to him to sell. So,
who are you going to see in that game? Who are the quarterbacks for Tampa Bay and New York?
Well, I know it's McGloin for New York.
Oh,
I don't know who the quarterback is for the Vipers.
Stop.
Raiders legend.
Yes, Matt McGloin. Quite honestly, I'd love to hear James say Matt McGloin has a groin injury.
Yes, McGloin has a groin.
I hate you guys.
I'm checking out the Tampa Bay Vipers roster right now, and it looks like their quarterback, Aaron Murray.
Really? Oh. Ex-Oklahoma?
Actually, both Chiefs.
No, ex-Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia. Red. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I don't know any of these other dudes. Taylor Cornelius of Oklahoma State, Chase Litton of Marshall, and Quentin Flowers, quarterback running back from South Florida. It's got to be Aaron Murray. He's got to be the starter.
Yeah, it's Aaron Murray, because I believe all the starters for these teams were allocated based on where they went to college, and then they did a draft for every other position on the team.
Wasn't that the AFL did that?
XFL did it too.
There you go. Well, is it?
I believe their draft was back in October.
So
they assigned the quarterbacks in like July.
So what's the betting on how many over under? How many weeks of the regular season are there? Hold on, there's 10 weeks. So over under 5.5 for this league lasting. Will it still be going?
Yeah, it's going to go over because they've got enough money to last the full season. The question is over under 3 weeks before interest fades completely in the XFL.
Yeah, I'm gonna take push at 3. Because I'm trying to think when the next pay-per-view, I believe, is the Elimination Chamber. That's in March, and it should be early March because WrestleMania is in April. And then they have a Saudi Arabia event in between. So, I mean, you can kind of keep the WWE wrestling audience interested in the XFL at that point. As far as the general audience, I don't know.
There's only 8 teams. Jesus.
Yes, 8 teams. And again, 10 games, and the top 2 teams will play in the championship game. There's no real playoff thing, anything like that going on.
Was it a voting system to get the team names? Because I'm not seeing a single racist name here, which is disappointing for start. And what's this? The DC Defender.
Jay, pull the plug.
Why is it called
Pull the plug, Jay? We're done.
Why are they called Battle Hawk or Battle Hawk?
By the way, I think this was on a previous show, Neil. Maybe it was one during those weeks when you're trying to fix your Wi-Fi there in Aberdeen. But the XFL have the most generic team names and the most generic looking uniforms.
Okay.
Like straight out of like your Madden build your own team type of stuff. It's terrible.
Oh, good. So at least they learned something. So
are Vipers popular in Tampa Bay?
What's that, Neil?
Are Vipers popular in Tampa Bay? Why are they the Vipers?
Probably it's Florida.
I'm assuming there's no dragons in Seattle.
You never know.
Not many lakes in LA either, but you know.
Well, the team moved from Minneapolis.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't make more sense once they're there.
That'll be great when the XFL franchises start switching cities.
Oh gosh, that's never going to happen.
The Hartford Vipers. That makes no sense whatsoever.